It's incredible to see how many people already are turning up. Thank you for that. My name is Henrik Grønnet. I work as a senior advisor for international media support, and I've been with ARIJ for the last 12 years. And each year at the conference we're saying, it cannot be bigger than this year, but now I can see it has grown again. So that's amazing. Really, really great. I would like to start this session with a question. And this is a question. I will start with the people in the audience who are more than 50 years old. How many of you are still active reporters out in the field? Please stand up. Okay, 3 people. How many who are more than 45 years old are still reporters out in the field? Yeah, same person. Okay, how many who are more than 40 years old are still, and you don't have to get up now, Pierre. Okay. How many who are more than 35 are still out in the field and being a reporter? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 35. So this is, I think it's also showing a lot on how tough the job we do is. And it's also showing, for ARIJ, we have had this problem. When we do, we call it key performance indicators on ARIJ, we are looking into how many are actually doing investigations, and then we look into how many are doing the second investigation, and the figure has been dropping and dropping. So this is why it's improving now, by the way, due to a lot of factors, but it should be, because experience is so key for this. And experience is what we would like this session to be concentrating on. We like to really honor the people who go on working year after year. And I will just say a little bit about my background, because I used to be commissioning editor for documentaries at the DR, which is the public TV station in Denmark. And I used to then, when I was sitting there, to receive all the production companies coming in with their fine ideas and with their loads of people who should have money to do the work and so on. And they came with a proposal, and then it was about us paying for it. And a lot of them were good. A lot of them were very, very expensive. A lot of them you didn't feel the engagement in the people who wanted to do the documentaries. And then into my office stepped this not so tall man coming in. This is 20 years ago, and you look good at that time. You still look good.
Well, thank you.
And he had a proposal about some wrongdoings a Danish company was doing out in the world, which was harming some of the people, and that the Danish consumers were not aware of that. And I must admit, I was really impressed with getting this. And then I said, but your proposal is so cheap. How are you operating? How can you do this? And then he said, that's simple. My wife is my cameraman, and I don't need a lot, so I just want to do the story. And that's basic how you have been going on and on, Tom, and have received numerous prizes. So we like to talk about what is it that can keep you going. And we would very much like your comments, your questions to that also in this. Here, if we all agree that the best thing is also to have experienced reporters in the field. So with that, I'll give the word to you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. So the basic thing is, how can you keep your engagement?
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for so many people being here. A great honor for me. Two key elements in any good journalism is that first of all, you have to be curious, and then you have to wonder. So when I can see in printed ads or in the television that you can buy 3 towels, big bathing towels, for 10 euros, how can that be? Is that at all possible to make 3 towels for 10 euros sold in chain shops and supermarkets in Denmark? I wonder. So I built up this curiosity and the wonderness that's the basic part of what I'm doing, and that's what I feel that I'm best at, being out there in the field, snooping around. That also has a sort of a price to be paid, so you have to be careful. And I know many of you is living in far more dangerous countries than I am. But still, when I'm out there, I also need to work with colleagues. I cannot maybe understand Hindi in India, so I need an interpreter and a helping hand, maybe a colleague. I need a driver. I don't drive in India, it's too dangerous. So I need a lot of people around me to secure my story, but I also need to be secure with them. So there's a lot of issues that I start to address beforehand, before we go. Should we show a clip or what?
No, let's wait with that, because
okay.
I actually don't think you really answered the question, because the question is, what keeps you going? I mean, I know I've been visiting, you have a little houseboat in Copenhagen, and in Denmark there's not really a reason to be very tough on things, because it's moving smoothly, more or less. But still you find these ways in, and Danish, especially companies, not doing very ethical work. How can you keep on doing this?
Well, I will, when it comes to companies not behaving decently, opposed to what they say and claim, I will never get unemployed. There are so many, well, to speak it frankly out, there are so many assholes out there who needs to be exposed by us, because we're the consumers' guarantees that what they introduce to us, saying that this is a fantastic product and you can get 3 towels for 10 euros, then who is to question that? We are obliged to do that. And it's not only the big companies, it's also, it can be NGOs, it can be ethical consumer brands that tries to persuade me as a consumer that what they are doing is fantastic. We are in this world to question anything and anyone, and mostly question, of course, the people in power. That's our job. And why do I keep on doing this? Otherwise I wouldn't be a journalist. Maybe I would become a boring staff writer in some boring editorial room with a lot of screens in front of me. That's not funny. I want to be out there. As long as I can, I will. And as you said, my wife is my camera woman. She picked up the camera some 20 years ago and said, I want to be a cameraman. I said, you cannot. You're not skilled or anything. I can try. So I brought her with me to India, and we made this film it was actually for Nils Hansson for Swedish national television at that time. Or he bought the film afterwards.
We'll come into that film.
But just now trying to explain that what is driving me.
Yeah.
The curiosity, the wonder of being a citizen, no matter where you are in the world. Everything is connected today, and has been for the last 25, 30 years. There's no company in Sweden or Denmark with a production of, or maybe with an employment of maybe 50 people or more. They have their production value chain in the third world countries. Everybody knows that. Very few questions that. That's what my job is. Our job is.
Yeah. So maybe we should see the first clip. I'll just say, if you have any comments or any questions, please write them also to the people who are following us online, and we'll take that. We have limited time, but it would be great for some of you to chip in also. But this first clip we will show is from one of Tom's earlier productions, and exactly I think it's so great also to know what actually gave you the idea, namely that is walking in and seeing something you can buy in Denmark that is just too cheap to be done in the right way. But if we can see the first intro, and then we can talk about that afterwards.
We see it in countless ads, a young mother giving her child a bath. And is there anything more lovely than a big soft towel? It has to do with the fabrics we're surrounded by every day. Towels, dishcloths, bedcloths, rugs. These are bargains on sale, sold in large chain stores that are well known by the public all over Denmark and Europe. The consumer can find the best prices in print ads and on TV. But what the consumer doesn't see is how the goods are produced. Fabrics are produced far away, often under extremely hazardous conditions. The consumer is lured by low prices. The companies make more money.
Ja, man kan jo selv sige, at man kan købe 3 håndklæder eller 3 lagener for 100 kroner. Så bør man være på vagt.
We've been trying for months to get a statement from Nordic companies that work with textile production in India. But they...
Yeah.
Okay, so this was one of your films. So the idea was just coming, and this is also a good way of seeing it doesn't demand so much to exactly use your curiosity as or curious mind, as you said, and then dig from there. This cannot be right, and then seeing all these workers being harmed by that. But how did it go with the film and the follow-up? We were talking a little bit about that this morning.
Yeah, it went like this, that the companies were trying to, counter back, go against me and telling me how bad, telling the world how bad a guy I was. Instead of, relating to the actual problem, they try to shoot the messenger boy. And that's very typical. You probably also have experienced this when you finally publish your work after months and months and months of investigations, and then all you hear is that you're a bad boy. The companies are trying to shoot the messenger boy instead of relating to their crime. So, but that we have to live with. That's okay. And the most part of when you do long investigations, as I do, it takes up to a year to make a film like ones I do. Then you also have to prepare that the film has to live. So you have to have a lot of cutaways hidden. You have to have extra stories that wasn't part of the actual story that you can go out with, so you can collaborate with other medias to make the thing alive. So it's very important.
I like to. This was from India, but if I mention Azerbaijan, South Africa, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, and then India, what is for you in common with these countries?
They don't like me. Simple as that. They kicked me out of India many years ago. I'm still trying to get a visa there. In the other countries, the situation are a little bit rough against independent journalism. And when you're doing work like this, you are traveling on a tourist visa, because these countries are not possible to make journalistic investigations on a journalist visa. They will prevent you from doing that. So it's sort of hit and run television. It's in on a tourist visa and quickly out again. Very important is to be aware of the security situation, be aware that if you're doing television or recorded interviews, always keep copies, always make extra copies, because you can be. But leaving Baku in Azerbaijan, there are actually 2 securities you have to pass through. My good friend and colleague in Norway was stopped there and had all his equipment taken. And luckily for him, he also saved a copy. So that could be a film instead at the end. But then these countries do not like to be exposed in the way that, let's say, South Africa, their wine industry, is next to oil, I think, the biggest export commodity they have. So when you sort of scrutinize the wine industry and actually proving that if you think apartheid was gone, it's not. If you think that slavery is gone from South Africa, it's not. And when you prove that on camera, they certainly don't like that in the wine communities and by the authorities in South Africa. So I'm not going down there, at least not to the vineyards, for quite some time. It's a little bit too risky.
But it's not only wine, or if Danish companies are buying cheap towels and what is happening with the workers there. There's also the be good industry, you might say. People who are doing something for us, like micro-depth, helping people in the third world country, or we also have companies working for the good environment and so on. But still you have made documentaries where you're critical towards them.
Yeah.
Why is that?
That's an obligation for me as a journalist. I spare no one. When it came to, for instance, you probably all know the fair trade label. It is meant to be that it's good for the workers, that they get a little extra bonus. So when you buy a coffee or a tea or a glass of wine, there could be a little label saying fair trade. And when you look up fair trade's websites and their value chain, it's all about helping the workers. But when you can expose and see that this fair trade label in some areas goes for tea, it goes for wine, at least that's what I investigated, it's bullshit. So I have to confront them as well. And when I made the film about tea, The Bitter Taste of Tea, it was called, it's on my website, which is down at the moment. I don't know if I've been hacked, but I will assure you that it's up and running soon again. But when we exposed that, or we were ready to air that film, then I was called up on telephone by a parliamentarian in the Danish parliament who said, "Hi, Tom." I said, "Hi. What are you up to?" And I said, "What do you mean, what am I up to?" "Yeah, what is this film you're coming with soon?" "How do you know about a film that has not been aired so far?" "Well, there was this lobby people from Fairtrade who was running around in the parliament trying to say to me, or to us in the parliament, that this film is full of shit. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong." And then a parliamentarian called me also. He was on the other side, you can say, and saying, "Tom, you're pointing the gun to the wrong people. You should point it to the big companies like Unilever, Lipton, the biggest tea brands. They are the real crooks. But don't point it at Fairtrade." What are you saying to me? And it was like, that's the thing we are being met with. But Tom, that's reality, and that's
Tom,
okay.
We're running out of time, but I just
not really.
I just want
It was the other introduction.
Yes,
that ran out of time.
Someone has to pay for it.
No. I'm the bad boy.
I just want to ask you.
I don't want to go down here.
In this context, we are with a lot of good journalists here who are really risking a lot, and you are collaborating. Yeah. With a lot of local people. Yeah. I don't think we can go through the whole PowerPoint you have, but we'll send it around. I just want to ask you how important it is to work with people like here who are on the ground for you to actually make these documentaries so impactful as you do.
I don't know if anyone can help me making this work. Yes, I would say that almost any of my stories could not have been done without the help of people helping me out there, colleagues, friends, activists, unions, all kind of people that my network is able to dig up, you can say. And there's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind when you're doing these kind of jobs. I look at this as when I start an investigation, it's back at the desk, it's back at the office anyway. But when I'm ready to go, I have to be aware that I'm not risking only my security and my camera woman, as said, which happened to be my wife, but also my driver, my colleague, my translator, anyone. So start identifying the worst case scenario. When you, for instance, enter a vineyard in South Africa, you are trespassing. And they are allowed by law to shoot you down without asking any questions, even though I would be standing with a camera on my shoulder. They can shoot me down because I'm not allowed to go there. So how do you get into a vineyard without the farmer finding me? You go on a Sunday morning because he's at church, paying his debt to his hypocrisy and being a damn asshole. Anyway, so you have a window there for about 2.5 hours where you can go into the vineyards and do the documentation and film what's happening. But then again, you have to be aware that these workers who's telling you their story, you have to blur them, or you have to take care of their security as well, because I'm the one who is out of there and sitting on a plane safe and sound back in Denmark. What about the people I left behind? So this is just a few of these things I work with before I go. And these ones is today a really dangerous weapon because it can be used against you as well. So I never keep my driver's telephone number in my phone. I never keep my colleague's number in my phone, because if they take this, they're doomed, they're gone. Then, as I said, copy all. I always leave a hard disk behind. So I have trusted friends in all these countries you mentioned that I trust 100%. So I leave a copy of all my filmed, proven documentation behind. When I'm safe and sound back home, I give them a message, encrypted, saying, delete all or throw it in the ocean. My colleague in Azerbaijan, he actually poured it out in the ocean. He didn't even want to try to erase it. Yeah, basically. Let me see. Can we? Yeah, as I said, safety for the entire crew. You can have a loose cannon, let's say a union guy working in the field of vineyard workers. He can be a loose cannon because he has no limits. There's no stopping point for him. So you also have to take care of him. So maybe he should not be in the film. Maybe he should just be a resource for you. Very, very, very important. Yeah, check motives on the interviewees, your helpers. They can have different motives that is not necessarily to the benefit for you. Like when you have done an interview and you are leaving, and the next day you can read that there was this Mr. Heinemann in the field and they interviewed me, and suddenly you're all over the place, and that's before the film is ready. So sometimes you have to be a little suspicious. Here's what drives me. A very famous working class poet, his name was Carl Scharnberg. He said, if you are unsure, notice what the banks, the ship owners, the landowners want you to do, then do the opposite.
Tom, we have to stop now, but as you can see, once you get Tom going, you cannot stop him. Here you can see all Tom's work if you go in on this website. we would have hoped.
It's hacked. It's hacked right now, but it will open later today.
And I think really we should give a hand for the continuation of people who are still in the branch after all these years and go on. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.